And former New Hampshire Senator and Governor Judd Gregg. Sir, good to see you. Isn't that interesting that people make their decision late in the game in New Hampshire?
That's historically the way it's always been. People wait, they listen, plus they're very attentive. They go to a lot of meetings. All these candidates are holding town meetings, except maybe Trump, where they get to be questioned very aggressively by the folks here in New Hampshire, and people take it very seriously. So they are late deciding, but it's because they're really looking hard at the candidates.
So what are your expectations, knowing what we know going into New Hampshire, and that is this most recent debate where there was a lot of mudslinging, like a couple of different really tense moments?
I think the polls are wrong. I think New Hampshire, one thing predictable about New Hampshire is it's unpredictable, and it will be this time. I don't see Trump doing as well as people are saying in the polls. I think the rational thought process in New Hampshire usually dominates, and people are going to vote for people they think can govern and people they think can be president. I look at Jeb Bush is coming up very strong, John Kasich. These are the quality people who have put forward very aggressive and thoughtful programs and who have leadership skills.
Senator, who do you think is the best ground game going in New Hampshire right now? And that's one of the big questions about Donald Trump, is how extensive his organization is. Is there somebody who's really a sleeper on the ground from what you see organizationally?
Both Bush and Kasich have extremely strong ground games, and I would say Trump has no ground game. He's basically working off of entertainment as his basic thrust. And very successfully so, by the way. You know, a national figure of his stature or character, stature may be the wrong term, is definitely someone who doesn't necessarily need a ground game in New Hampshire, because he's going to penetrate the voters through the national media, which he dominates.
Senator, that exchange in the debate on Saturday night, particularly between Donald Trump talking about eminent domain and how it's great, and then Jeb Bush pushing back, is that a major issue in New Hampshire? Could it hurt Trump more than we might even think at this point?
I don't think the issue is major, but I think the tone of the exchange was very significant, and that what Jeb said was absolutely true. You shouldn't be using eminent domain for personal gain. It should be used for the purposes of doing things that the public needs. And I think that was a very big point to make, because Donald doesn't seem to differentiate between personal gain and using the government to to advance his personal wealth. And it was, I think, a very important point. From that standpoint, the eminent domain issue is sort of a side issue.
I agree, and we've talked about eminent domain amongst ourselves, but the truth is he spoke about it, Trump did, as if it's just so necessary for any economy, for any country. Which I was really taken aback by that.
You know, I mean, if you're going to lay out roads and you're going to have public facilities, you're going to probably need eminent domain to do those things. But you shouldn't be using eminent domain to build shopping centers or to build hotels or casinos. And that was, I think Jeb was basically showing that there's a big difference in the way the thought process here. Jeb wants to use eminent domain for public purpose. Trump wants to use it for personal gain.
Senator, what about that moment when Trump sort of challenged all the people in the room? He had the booing from the crowd, and he sort of put himself forward as, I'm challenging all of the donors and rich people in this room. What can you tell us about who was in that room? And even though we heard the boos on TV, do you think that played for him anywhere in New Hampshire, or do you think that hurt him?
It was such a strange thing to say. I mean, this is St. Anselm's College. It's a Catholic school. The audience was basically people who have some relationship with St. A's or with Manchester. The number of donors in that room had to be just minuscule compared to the size of the crowd. It was very, very strange, because he's basically insulted about 1,000 people, all of whom vote in New Hampshire, by the way, and have friends who vote in New Hampshire.